A poor girl walks into a fancy restaurant and says to the young billionaire, "I have no money, but I can wash dishes. Just give me a little food for my little sister. She's very hungry." His reply leaves everyone moved. A light rain fell over the city as Amy tightened her grip on her younger sister's hand. Both of them were soaked, but that no longer mattered. What really mattered was the gnawing hunger in Lila's belly. She hadn't eaten anything since the previous morning. "It's going to be okay," Amy whispered to the 3-year-old, watching the golden lights shining through the windows of the restaurant on the corner. "Wait here, I'll get you some food." Lila, her brown hair plastered to her forehead by the rain, only nodded. Her large, tired eyes trusted her older sister completely. Ever since their mother had died 3 weeks ago, Amy had become Lila's only safe haven. "Don't leave here. Got it? Stay hidden." Amy tucked Lila into the space between a closed store and a large dumpster, making sure no one passing on the street would notice her. "I'll be right back." With determined eyes and an empty stomach, Amy walked to the restaurant entrance. Through the glass doors, she could see well-dressed people chatting and eating from fancy plates. Fear almost made her back away, but the memory of Lila's hungry face gave her courage. She took 3 deep breaths, the way her mother had taught her when she was nervous, and pushed the heavy door open. Warmth enveloped her immediately. The smell of food made her stomach growl so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The restaurant was bigger inside than it looked, with sparkling chandeliers and flowers on the tables. Amy had never been anywhere so beautiful. A few people noticed her and frowned. A woman in a black dress whispered something to her companion, glancing at the girl's soaked, worn clothes. Amy's cheeks burned with embarrassment, but she kept going until she stood in the middle of the dining area. It was now or never. Summoning all the courage she had, she took a deep breath and spoke in the strongest voice she could manage. "I have no money, but I can wash dishes. Just give me a little food for my little sister. She's very hungry." The room, which had been full of conversations and laughter, fell into absolute silence. Every eye turned toward the small 5-year-old figure, wet clothes clinging to her body, her gaze resolute. A waiter with a thin mustache rushed over, visibly uncomfortable. His face turned red as he looked around, aware that patrons were watching uneasily. "Young lady, you can't stay here," he said quietly, trying to place a hand on her shoulder. But before he could touch her, he leaned over and whispered to a man sitting alone at the far table, "I'm sorry, sir. I'll get her out of here right away." The man, who had been quietly observing the scene, lifted his eyes from his almost untouched plate. Liam Carter, age 30, known in the business world as the billionaire who had turned a small tech startup into a global empire, studied the girl carefully. For a moment, his eyes locked with Amy's. He saw something familiar there, a mix of fear and determination he recognized all too well. Liam set his napkin on the table and stood up. He walked calmly over to the girl and the waiter. His presence commanded respect. Everyone in the restaurant recognized him at once. "That won't be necessary," Liam said in a firm but gentle voice. "Bring your sister inside. You're both my guests." The waiter blinked a few times while surprised. "Mr. Carter, are you sure?" "Absolutely," he replied without hesitation. Then, turning to Amy, he asked kindly, "Where is your sister?" Amy looked at him warily. Ever since their father had abandoned them years ago and her mother had fallen ill, she had learned not to trust adults easily. But there was something sincere in this man's voice. "She's hiding outside," she finally answered. "She's sick and really hungry." "Then let's go get her," Liam offered his hand. "It's cold out there." Amy hesitated for a moment but took his hand. Together they headed toward the door, followed by the curious stares of everyone in the restaurant. Outside, Lila was exactly where Amy had left her, curled up and shivering. "Lila!" Amy ran to her. "This man is going to give us food." Liam looked at the 2 sisters and felt a pang in his chest. Lila was even smaller, with large blue eyes in a pale face. She coughed and trembled, clearly unwell. Without a second thought, he took off his coat and wrapped it around the little one, picking her up in his arms. "Let's go inside. You 2 need warm food." Back in the restaurant, Liam led them to his table. He asked the waiter to bring hot soup right away, followed by the best dish on the menu. People around them looked on, some with admiration, others with curiosity. "What are your names?" Liam asked while Amy helped Lila drink the soup that had arrived quickly. "I'm Amy. I'm 5. This is my sister, Lila. She's 3, she answered, blowing on the soup to cool it before giving it to her sister. That careful, adult-like gesture did not go unnoticed. "Where are your parents?" he asked gently. Amy lowered her eyes. "Daddy left a long time ago. Mommy got sick." Her voice broke. She fell asleep and never woke up. "That was 3 weeks ago." A heavy silence fell over the table. Liam felt a lump in his throat. "Have you two been on your own since then?" Amy nodded, wiping a bit of soup from Lila's chin. "Our neighbors helped at first, but then..." She shrugged sadly. "I had to take care of Lila. I promised Mommy I would." As the girls ate, Liam observed their every movement. He saw how Amy made sure Lila ate first, how she blew on each spoonful, how she gently wiped her sister's face. It was a child looking after another child. Gradually, other patrons began to approach. An older woman offered them a clean handkerchief. A couple asked if they could help in any way. The chef came out of the kitchen personally to deliver a special dessert. Liam realized that these 2 little girls had touched more hearts than just his that night. While he watched Amy finally allow herself to eat, only after making sure Lila was satisfied, he made a silent decision. A night that had begun like any other in his solitary life had turned into the start of something new. The door Amy had pushed open so bravely didn't just lead to a restaurant. She had opened a passage to something much bigger for all 3 of them. Dinner was wrapping up. Amy had eaten until she was full for the first time in weeks, and Lila, after 3 servings of chocolate pudding, had fallen asleep with her head on the table. Still, her persistent cough did not go unnoticed by Liam. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" he asked, watching Amy gently wipe the corner of her sleeping sister's mouth. The girl hesitated before replying, avoiding his gaze. "We sleep on some cardboard near here," she finally confessed in a low voice. "I found a spot behind the grocery store. It's not that bad. So I covered it with plastic for when it rains." Liam's heart constricted at the thought of the 2 children sleeping outside, exposed to cold and danger. "Lila doesn't look well," he commented, noticing the younger girl's fast, raspy breathing. "I think she needs to see a doctor. After that, you'll come to my house." Amy's eyes widened, first with worry, then with confusion. "Your house? We don't have money for doctors," she replied, a tremor in her voice. "And why would we go to your house?" "I have money," Liam said simply. "And no child should sleep on cardboard on the street, especially in this cold. My house has empty rooms and warm food." As Amy considered the offer, Lila coughed again in her sleep, a harsh sound that seemed to hurt her small body. That was enough to decide. "Okay," Amy agreed, squeezing her sister's hand. "We'll go to the doctor, but I'm not leaving her side." "Deal," Liam smiled, signaling the waiter to bring the bill. Minutes later, Liam's car pulled up in front of the restaurant. It wasn't as flashy as you might expect from a billionaire, just a black sedan, sleek and discreet. The driver opened the door, and Liam carried a sleeping Lila in his arms. "This is Thomas, my driver," Liam introduced, helping Amy into the back seat. "Hello, miss." Thomas greeted them with a kind smile, touching the brim of his cap. Inside the car, Amy looked around in wonder. Her fingers timidly ran over the soft leather seats, her eyes taking in every detail of the luxurious interior. It was her first time in such a nice car. "Thomas to St. Mary's Hospital," Liam instructed, carefully settling Lila between him and Amy. Thomas nodded, and the car glided quietly through the city streets. "What's that?" Amy asked, pointing to the small screen on the console. "That's a GPS," Liam explained. "It shows us the route to where we want to go." Amy watched the colorful lines on the digital map with fascination. "Like magic." "Almost. It's technology," Liam smiled, realizing how many firsts Amy might experience tonight. "It's like a talking map." Throughout the drive, Amy switched between looking out the window at the city lights and checking on Lila, who slept soundly despite the occasional cough. Her questions were constant and filled with genuine curiosity. "Is that building yours?" Why does that bridge have lights? What are those tall towers? Liam answered each question patiently, surprised by the girl's perceptiveness. For someone so young, her reasoning was quick, and her ability to absorb new information impressive. At one point during the ride, Lila briefly opened her eyes. Instead of crying or panicking at the unfamiliar surroundings, she simply smiled at Amy and then at Liam, as though fully trusting him, before drifting back to sleep. That small smile, so innocent and trusting, stirred something deep inside Liam, something long buried beneath layers of board meetings, deadlines, and corporate acquisitions. 20 minutes later, the car stopped in front of St. Mary's Hospital, one of the best in the city. Thomas opened the door, and Liam stepped out, still carrying Lila, Amy close behind him, clinging to his coat. Entering through the ER was quick. Just a mention of Liam Carter's name, and doors opened. Even so, he refused to cut ahead of more serious cases, simply insisting that the girls be seen as soon as possible. "Mr. Carter, what a surprise to see you here," greeted a middle-aged doctor, approaching them in the waiting room. "I'm Dr. Bennett. How can I help?" "Dr. Bennett, this is Amy and Lila," Liam introduced. "Lila has been sick. Persistent cough, fever, and she's having trouble breathing." The doctor crouched to Amy's eye level. "Hi, Amy. May I examine your little sister?" Amy looked at Liam, who nodded encouragingly, then agreed. A nurse led them to an exam room. Liam gently placed Lila on the gurney, and the little girl woke up, confused and frightened by the unfamiliar setting. "It's okay, Princess," Amy whispered, holding her hand. "We're at the doctor's so you can get better." Dr. Bennett examined Lila thoroughly, listening to her heart and lungs, checking her throat and ears, measuring her temperature. She asked Amy questions about when the cough started, whether Lila had been eating, and how long they had been on their own. After some preliminary tests, the doctor asked to speak with Liam privately. Amy refused to leave Lila's side, so they spoke quietly in the corner of the room. "Mr. Carter, Lila has pneumonia and moderate malnutrition," Dr. Bennett said seriously. "Her immune system is compromised due to inadequate nutrition. She needs to be admitted immediately for IV antibiotics and nutritional support." Liam nodded, looking at the two sisters. Lila had curled up against Amy, who stroked her hair with almost maternal care. "Do whatever is necessary, doctor," he replied. "Cost is not an issue." The doctor hesitated before continuing. "Mr. Carter, I have to ask, what is your relationship to these children?" It was a valid question. Legally, he had no relationship to them. They were two unknown children he had met just hours before. "I'm responsible for them at the moment," he answered resolutely. "Their circumstances are complicated. They lost their mother recently and have no one else." The doctor nodded, understanding the delicate situation. "I'll need to notify Child Protective Services," she said. "It's standard procedure in cases like this." "I understand," Liam replied. "Please let them know the girls are under my protection now." When the doctor left to arrange Lila's admission, Liam returned to the girls. Amy's face was drawn with worry. "Is she going to be okay?" she asked in a low voice. "Yes," Liam assured her, sitting beside them. "But Lila needs to stay in the hospital for a few days so she can take medicine and get stronger." Panic flashed across Amy's face. "We can't pay for a hospital." "Don't worry about that," Liam said gently. "I'll take care of everything." "Why?" Amy's question was direct, her eyes searching Liam's face as if looking for a catch or a trap. "Why are you helping us?" It was a question Liam had no simple answer for. Even he didn't fully understand the impulse that led him to intervene at the restaurant, or the decision to take responsibility for two children he barely knew. "Because you need help," he replied simply. "And I can help." Before Amy could ask more, nurses arrived to move Lila to a room. The younger girl began to cry, scared of so many strangers. "I'm coming with you," Amy promised, holding her sister's hand tightly as they moved the gurney. "I won't leave you alone." Liam followed them to a private room, where Lila was carefully transferred to a hospital bed. Tubes and monitors were connected, and a nurse inserted an IV for fluids and antibiotics. Lila cried at the needle's prick, but Amy stayed beside her, whispering comforting words. "It'll be over soon, Lila," she murmured. "You'll get better, and then we'll play again." Gradually, the medication started to take effect, and Lila fell asleep. Amy, exhausted from the long day, still refused to leave her sister's side. Liam brought a comfortable chair close to the bed and helped Amy sit down. "You need to rest too," he told her, covering her with a light blanket a nurse had brought. "I promise I won't leave, and I'll wake you if Lila needs you." Reluctantly, Amy agreed. Her heavy eyelids started to close, but she continued holding her sister's hand even as she drifted off to sleep. Liam watched them for a long time. He felt a peace he hadn't felt in years. Amid the chaos and uncertainty of this unexpected situation, something felt strangely right. He left the room quietly to make some important calls to his lawyer, his executive assistant, and the housekeeper at his home, to prepare for the possibility of bringing 2 children under his roof. When he returned, he found Amy awake, watching Lila with worried eyes. "I thought you had gone," she said softly, without looking away from her sister. "I promised I'd stay," Liam replied, sitting in the chair beside her. "I always keep my promises." They sat in silence for a few minutes, the only sounds the monitors and Lila's steady breathing. Then, unexpectedly, Amy began to speak. "Mommy started out like this," she whispered. First she coughed, then she got really tired, too tired to get out of bed. Liam listened quietly, letting her continue at her own pace. "I took care of her. I gave her water and medicine when we had it. I made food, even if it was just noodles." Amy shrugged sadly. But she got weaker and weaker. One day she called me over and told me I had to be strong and look after Lila, that I was the big sister. Amy's eyes began to fill with tears. The next day she didn't wake up. I called her, shook her, but she wouldn't wake up. Her voice trembled. I was so scared. That was when her tears finally fell, silent at first, then in shaky sobs that racked her small body. It was as if a dam had broken, releasing the pain and fear she had held back while caring for Lila. "What if Lila doesn't wake up too?" she sobbed. "What if she leaves like Mommy?" Without thinking twice, Liam gathered her into his arms. Surprisingly, Amy did not resist. Instead, she clung to his shirt as though it were a life preserver in a storm. "Lila's not going anywhere," Liam promised, his voice firm yet gentle. "She's getting all the care she needs now. The doctors here are the best, and she's strong like you." Amy cried until she had no more tears left, releasing weeks of bottled-up fear. Liam simply held her, offering a silent comfort that words could not convey. When her sobs finally subsided, he took out a handkerchief and gently wiped her face. "You know," he began, "you're the bravest little girl I've ever met." Amy sniffled, her eyes red. "I am." "Without a doubt," he confirmed. "You took care of your mother and your sister. You walked into a restaurant full of strangers to ask for help. That takes a lot of courage." A small smile tugged at Amy's lips. "Now it's my turn to help," Liam continued. "You don't have to do everything by yourself anymore. We'll take care of Lila together, and she'll be fine." "I promise." "You swear?" Amy asked, her eyes intense as though she could see the truth in his. "I swear," Liam replied, sealing the promise by extending his pinky. Amy hooked her tiny pinky around his, sealing the pact. In that simple gesture, a fragile new trust began to grow, still delicate, like a small sapling that needed tending, but very real. In the silence that followed, with Lila sleeping peacefully and Amy slowly relaxing against his shoulder, Liam realized this wasn't just the first bit of care he'd offered them. It was also the beginning of healing a void inside himself he hadn't known was there. Outside, the city kept up its relentless pace. But in that hospital room, time seemed to slow, allowing 3 vastly different lives to start intertwining. 3 days had passed since Lila's admission. Color had gradually returned to her cheeks, and her breathing no longer sounded so desperate. The antibiotics were working. "Look, Liam," Amy exclaimed, pointing excitedly to her sister, who was now able to sit up in the hospital bed and was flipping through a picture book. "She's better," Liam smiled, noting the remarkable improvement. Lila was still weak, but the difference was clear. She was no longer the feverish, wheezing child from that first night. "She sure is," he agreed, setting down the breakfast tray he'd brought for Amy. Dr. Bennett said her test results looked much better. During these days, Liam rarely left the hospital. Whenever he had urgent matters to attend to, he made sure Thomas stayed with the girls. A room in the hotel next door served as a temporary base, where he and Amy took turns showering and changing into new clothes he'd provided for them. Amy was nibbling on a sandwich when the door to the room opened. Dr. Bennett entered, accompanied by a serious-looking woman with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Good morning," the doctor greeted. "Mr. Carter, this is Mrs. Parker from Child Protective Services." Liam rose to greet her, feeling a twinge of apprehension. This moment was inevitable, but still tense. "Hello, Mrs. Parker. I'm Liam Carter," he introduced himself, extending his hand. The social worker shook it with professional firmness. "Mr. Carter, we need to talk about the girl's situation." Amy, noticing the arrival of a stranger, instinctively drew closer to Lila, as if preparing to defend her. "Of course," Liam said. "Shall we talk here?" "I'd prefer somewhere more private," Mrs. Parker replied, looking pointedly at the children. Liam hesitated. "Amy doesn't like being away from her sister." "Just a few minutes," the social worker insisted. "Dr. Bennett will stay with them." Reluctantly, Liam turned to Amy. "I'm going to talk to Mrs. Parker out in the hall. Dr. Bennett will be here with you. I'll be back soon, I promise." Amy nodded, but her eyes conveyed distrust. In a small meeting room down the corridor, Mrs. Parker didn't waste time on small talk. "Mr. Carter, I understand you found these children in a restaurant, correct?" "Yes," Liam confirmed. "Amy came in asking for food for her sister. And there were no adults with them. None. Apparently, they've been alone since their mother passed away about 3 weeks ago." The social worker jotted notes on her clipboard. "And the father?" "Gone. According to Amy, he left a long time ago." "So, Mr. Carter, you just decided to adopt them?" Her tone was openly skeptical. "I decided to help them," Liam corrected. "Lila was sick and needed urgent medical care. Amy is just a child trying to care for her sister. They were sleeping on cardboard behind a grocery store." Mrs. Parker studied him for a moment before proceeding. "Mr. Carter, I appreciate your concern, but there are procedures to follow. It's not as simple as finding abandoned kids and taking them home." "I understand that," Liam said calmly. "That's why I'm willing to start whatever legal proceedings are necessary." "And what exactly are you proposing?" Liam took a deep breath. It was a decision he had made during long nights watching the girls sleep, a decision that felt increasingly right. "I want to apply for their legal custody, permanently." Mrs. Parker's eyebrow shot up in surprise. "Permanent custody? Mr. Carter, you're single, correct? With a demanding career, no parenting experience?" "Yes, to all points," Liam admitted. "But I can offer them stability, education, medical care, and most importantly, a safe home." The social worker made more notes. "I'm not asking for any special treatment," Liam continued. "I'm willing to undergo all necessary evaluations, background checks, home visits, whatever is required. But in the meantime, I'd like to keep them with me. They've been through enough trauma." Mrs. Parker regarded him for a long moment. "Why, Mr. Carter?" she finally asked. "Why these specific children? There are many kids in similar situations in the system." It was a fair question, one Liam didn't have a fully clear answer for. "Honestly, I can't entirely explain," he answered candidly. "Maybe because Amy was brave enough to walk into that restaurant for her sister. Maybe because I saw something in them that reminded me of myself a long time ago. All I know is that from the moment I met them, I felt it was the right thing to do." Surprised by his honesty, Mrs. Parker's expression softened slightly. "Look," Liam went on, "I know it seems sudden, but these girls need stability now, not weeks or months from now, shuttling between temporary homes. Amy is already starting to trust me, and that's a miracle given what she's been through." The social worker looked at her papers again, thoughtful. "I need to speak with the girls," she said at last. "Alone." "I understand," Liam said. But be aware that Amy is very protective of Lila. When they returned to the hospital room, Liam explained to Amy that Mrs. Parker needed to talk to them. The girl looked suspicious but agreed once Liam promised he'd be right outside. 15 minutes later, the door opened and Mrs. Parker stepped out, her expression neutral but her eyes slightly kinder. Amy is quite mature for her age, she noted. Yes, she had to be, Liam replied. The social worker consulted her papers one last time before announcing her decision. Mr. Carter, this is an unusual case. The standard procedure would be to place the girls in temporary foster care while we process your custody request. She paused, seeing the tension in Liam's face. However, given the circumstances and the bond that's clearly formed, particularly with Amy, I'm willing to make an exception. Relief washed over Liam like a wave. The girls may remain under your provisional care while we process your request. There will be regular, unannounced visits to check on their well-being. And you'll need to begin the formal legal process of applying for custody immediately. Thank you, Liam said earnestly. I've already instructed my lawyers to prepare all the necessary paperwork. One last thing, Mr. Carter, Mrs. Parker said, looking him in the eye. What Amy needs most right now is stability. If you're doing this on a whim or out of temporary charity, think again. These kids have already been abandoned once. It's not a whim, Liam replied firmly. It's a commitment. The social worker nodded, seemingly satisfied with his answer. I'll be in touch. Dr. Bennett informed me that Lila should be discharged in about 2 days. I hope your home is ready to welcome them by then. It will be, Liam promised. When Mrs. Parker left, Liam went back into the room. Amy was waiting for him anxiously. What did she say? Do we have to leave? She asked, fear evident in her voice. Liam knelt to her eye level. No, you're not going anywhere. When Lila is discharged, you're coming home with me just like we agreed. The relief on Amy's face was immediate and profound. Really? We can stay with you. Really? Liam confirmed, experiencing a rare sense of certainty. It's the 3 of us now. Amy ran to hug him, a gesture still somewhat rare but becoming more natural every day. Across the room, Lila watched the scene with a sleepy smile. Liam knew many challenges lay ahead, forms to fill, interviews to undergo, a home to adapt. But in that moment, with Amy in his arms and Lila growing healthier, he felt he'd finally found what he hadn't known he was looking for, the right to care for someone beyond himself. The day of Lila's discharge finally arrived. While Dr. Bennett performed the last examinations, Liam finished filling out the release forms, and Amy gathered the few belongings they had accumulated during the hospital stay. She's officially cleared, the doctor announced with a smile, handing Liam a prescription. These are the antibiotics she needs to continue taking for 7 more days. I recommend a follow-up appointment next week. Liam nodded, carefully storing the prescription. I'll schedule it today. Dr. Bennett crouched to Lila's level, who was now sitting on the edge of the bed, swinging her legs. You were a very brave patient, you know that. Lila smiled shyly, half hiding behind a teddy bear Liam had bought in the hospital gift shop. Thank you for taking care of her, Amy said solemnly. Over the last few days, her initial distrust of adults had lessened considerably. It was a pleasure meeting both of you, the doctor replied, then addressed Liam. Mr. Carter, they still need regular nutritional follow-ups, especially Lila. Malnutrition doesn't resolve in just a few days. Understood, Liam confirmed. I've already hired a nutritionist who will do home visits. As the doctor left, Thomas entered the room. The car is ready, sir. Amy's eyes lit up. Over the last few days, she had struck up an unexpected friendship with the driver, who would tell her fascinating stories of places he'd visited. We're going home, Thomas, she asked excitedly. Yes, miss, he replied with a warm smile. Home. Home. The word sounded strange and wonderful to Amy. Since her mother had fallen ill, the concept of home had gradually become more and more abstract. Thomas carried their bags while Liam approached Lila. Ready to go, princess? Lila stretched out her arms, clearly wanting to be carried. Though stronger now, she still tired easily. Liam lifted her carefully, holding her against his chest. Let's go, Amy, he called, extending his free hand. For the first time without hesitation, Amy took the hand he offered, and together they left the hospital room. The car waited at the main entrance, this time not the usual sedan, but a spacious SUV. Amy immediately noticed the difference. "You changed cars?" she asked curiously. "I thought we might need more space now," Liam explained, helping Lila settle into the back seat. He pointed to 2 child safety seats installed there. "And these are for you, safety first." Amy examined the car seat with fascination before letting Thomas help her strap in. "I've never sat in one of these before." A hint of sadness flickered in Liam's expression, but he quickly masked it with a smile. "Well, now you have one all to yourself." The drive from the hospital to Liam's house took about 30 minutes. Unlike their first car trip, heavy with tension and fear, this one felt lighter and filled with anticipation. Lila, now more alert and cheerful, pointed out everything she saw through the window: trees, buildings, people walking dogs. Amy, meanwhile, peppered Liam with questions. "Is your house big? Does it have a yard? Can we get a dog? Are there other people living there?" Liam answered each patiently, enjoying the girl's excitement. "Yes, it's reasonably big. Yes, there's a backyard. As for a dog, we can talk about that later. And no, for now it's just me and Mrs. Mills, who helps around the house." "What does reasonably mean?" Lila asked, trying to repeat the word Liam had used. "Reasonably," Liam gently corrected her. "It means not too small, not huge. Like in Goldilocks," Amy chimed in. "Not too big, not too small, but just right," Liam laughed, surprised by the reference. "Exactly that." Thomas, watching through the rearview mirror, smiled discreetly. In all his years working for Liam Carter, he'd never seen him so relaxed. When the car finally turned onto a tree-lined street in a quiet neighborhood, the girls craned their necks to see. Liam's house was not ostentatious, as one might expect from a billionaire, but an elegant 2-story residence with a modern yet understated design. "We're here," Thomas announced, pulling into the circular driveway. Liam helped Lila out, while Amy hopped out eagerly, barely able to contain her excitement. "Come on, Lila," she called, running to the entrance. "Let's see our new house." Liam carried Lila as they followed Amy to the door, which opened before they could even ring the bell. A middle-aged woman with a warm face and graying hair greeted them. "Welcome," she said kindly. "You must be Amy and Lila. I'm Mrs. Mills." Amy stopped short, suddenly shy in front of a stranger. Lila clung closer to Liam. "Mrs. Mills takes care of the house," Liam explained. "She's been with me for a long time. Nearly 10 years, the woman said with a smile, "and I'm very pleased to meet you both." She moved aside, inviting them in. "Come in. I've prepared a special snack to celebrate your arrival." The interior was spacious and bright, with a minimalist but welcoming style. It wasn't over-the-top luxurious, it was comfortable in its elegance. "Wow," Amy whispered, spinning slowly to take in everything. The living room had a large leather sofa, comfy armchairs, and an impressive bookshelf lining an entire wall. An elegant staircase led upstairs, and through glass doors at the back you could see a neatly landscaped garden. "Would you like to see the whole house or eat first?" Liam asked, setting Lila down when she squirmed to get free. "See the house," Lila exclaimed, her momentary shyness disappearing. "House first," Amy agreed, already walking to explore the next room. Liam guided them through various spaces: the dining room with a large wooden table, a modern, roomy kitchen, an office filled with books and a device Amy had never seen before. "It's a telescope," Liam explained, "and a small music room with a piano." On the second floor there were several bedrooms. Liam stopped in front of a closed door. "This will be your room. I should warn you, it's not fully ready yet. I only had 2 days to prepare, and some things I ordered haven't arrived yet." When he opened the door, he was met with expressions of pure delight. The room was large and airy, furnished with 2 beds, one regular and a smaller one with guardrails for Lila. A shelf already held a few children's books, and a partially filled toy chest sat on the floor. The once white walls now had glow-in-the-dark star and moon stickers. "Is this our room?" Amy asked, incredulous. "Yes," Liam confirmed. "If you'd rather have your own room, there's another one next door. But I thought you might want to stay together at first." I want to stay with Amy, Lila said quickly, grabbing her sister's hand. Then this is where we'll stay, Amy decided. She walked over to the window, which overlooked the backyard. Can I open it? Liam nodded, and Amy pushed the window open, letting a cool breeze in. For several moments, she just stood there, feeling the wind on her face and absorbing the reality that she now had a real place to call home. Do you like it? Liam asked, watching her carefully. Amy turned around, her eyes shining. It's the prettiest place I've ever seen. After finishing the tour, they went downstairs to the kitchen, where Mrs. Mills had prepared sandwiches, fresh-cut fruit, and a chocolate cake that made Lila's eyes go wide with excitement. You must be hungry after the trip, the housekeeper said, pouring orange juice into colorful cups that had clearly been purchased just for the girls. The meal was a happy one, with Lila more talkative than ever, sharing random thoughts about the hospital, the car, and all the treasures, as she called them, she had seen in the new house. Amy, though quieter, was visibly relaxed, even laughing when Liam told a story about how he once got stuck in the elevator of his office building for 2 hours. After they ate, while Mrs. Mills tidied up the kitchen, Liam noticed a delivery had arrived. I think that's the rest of the stuff for your room, he commented. Amy, want to help me unpack it? The girl's face lit up at the chance to be helpful. Sure. What about me? Lila asked, not wanting to be left out. You, princess, can be our special supervisor, Liam replied, which seemed to satisfy her completely. The next few hours were spent unpacking and organizing the girls' room. Liam, who usually delegated such tasks, discovered unexpected joy in assembling shelves and arranging toys with Amy's enthusiastic help. Fulfilling her role as supervisor, Lila offered frequent directions on where each item should go, changing her mind every 5 minutes. At one point, Amy paused in the middle of organizing books, looking at Liam with a serious expression. Liam. Yes. How long are we going to stay here? The question caught Liam off guard. He set aside the box he was opening and sat on the edge of the bed, inviting Amy to sit beside him. If everything goes as planned, forever, he answered honestly. I'm doing everything I can so you can stay with me for good. What if that lady doesn't let us? Amy asked, referring to the social worker. Mrs. Parker is just doing her job, making sure you two are safe and happy, Liam explained. I'll show her you are. I have good lawyers working on it, and most importantly, I really want you here. Amy considered his words for a moment. Can I ask another question? You can ask me anything. Why are you doing all this for us? You didn't even know us. It was the same question the social worker had asked, and one many others would likely ask. Liam thought carefully before replying. You know, Amy, sometimes life puts people in our path for a reason. When I saw you in that restaurant, so little but so brave, something inside me knew I had to help. And the more time I spend with you, the more I'm certain it was the right choice. Amy still looked a bit unconvinced. But you're rich. You could have just given money and walked away. Liam smiled at her insight. Money doesn't fix everything. You needed more than that. You needed someone who truly cares. And to be honest, I think I needed you too. Before Amy could ask more, Lila intervened, tugging on Liam's sleeve. I'm hungry again, she announced solemnly. Liam glanced at the clock, surprised to see it was already past 6 in the evening. Dinner time then. Let's see what Mrs. Mills has made. They went downstairs and found the dining table set with colorful plates and napkins, folded into little boat shapes, another special touch from the housekeeper for the newcomers. Dinner was chicken and vegetable soup with homemade bread, followed by vanilla pudding that prompted Lila to ask for 3 servings. After dinner came the moment Liam secretly dreaded, the first bath. Mrs. Mills had filled the tub with warm water and fragrant bubbles, but Liam wasn't sure what to do next. Can you bathe on your own, or do you need help? He asked hesitantly. I know how to take a bath, Amy declared proudly. I can help, Lila. Mommy taught us. A rush of relief passed through Liam. Great, I'll stay close by in case you need anything. The bath turned into a fun event filled with laughter and splashing, with Lila discovering the joy of bubble play, clearly a luxury she'd never experienced before. When they finished, Liam waited with soft robes and new pajamas. "Look, Amy, there are stars," Lila said, delighted by the designs on her pajamas. "And yours has moons," Amy replied, equally fascinated by her new sleepwear. After they brushed their teeth, with Liam patiently showing them the proper brushing motion, it was time for what would become their favorite ritual, bedtime stories. The girls settled into their respective beds, and Liam pulled up a chair between them, holding a children's storybook. "What story are we reading tonight?" he asked. "One with a happy ending," Amy requested. Liam smiled. "I think I can find one of those." The story chosen was The Little Mermaid, but a gentler version with a happy ending. Lila fell asleep before he even finished, smiling drowsily. Amy, however, stayed awake, watching Liam close the book softly. "How you tell stories really well," she commented. "Better than Mommy. She was always too tired." "Your mum did her best," Liam said gently, "and I'm sure she told wonderful stories when she could." Amy nodded thoughtfully. "Liam." "Yes?" "Did you ever think about having kids before you met us?" The unexpected question made Liam pause. His life had always revolved around his work, building his empire, meeting deadlines. He rarely thought about personal matters like marriage or children. "Honestly, I didn't think about it much," he admitted. "I always figured maybe someday, when the time was right, but it never seemed like the right time." "And now?" Amy persisted, her sleepy eyes still alert. Liam smiled, tucking the blankets around her. "Now I think maybe I was waiting for you without even knowing it." A tiny smile appeared on Amy's face, and she settled in between the clean sheets. "Good night, Liam," she whispered. "Good night, Amy," he replied, leaning over to switch off the lamp. "I'll be in the next room if you need anything." He was almost at the door when Amy's sleepy voice called to him again. "Liam?" "Yes?" "I'm glad we found you." A surge of emotion tightened Liam's throat. "Me too, Amy." "Me too." Closing the door softly, Liam paused in the hallway for a moment, absorbing the silence of the house, the kind of silence that now had a whole new meaning. No longer empty solitude, it was the precious hush of sleeping children, full of promise and possibilities. Downstairs, he found Mrs. Mills finishing up the day's chores. "They're asleep already?" the housekeeper asked. "Yes," Liam replied, still feeling that strange and wonderful sensation of having children under his roof. "You did very well today," Mrs. Mills commented with a knowing smile. "For someone who's never had kids." "I'm still learning," Liam admitted. "Do you think they'll settle in well here?" The housekeeper smiled, gathering her things to leave. "They're already settling in, especially little Lila. And Amy, well, she's starting to trust you, which is a miracle considering what she's been through." Liam nodded, thankful for her observation. "Good night, Mr. Carter. I'll be here early for breakfast." "Good night, Mrs. Mills, and thanks for everything today." When the door closed behind her, Liam found himself alone in the spacious living room. Instead of heading to his office, as he usually would for extra work, he simply sat on the couch, allowing himself a moment of quiet reflection. The house that had always felt sufficient, often too big, suddenly revealed itself as a space waiting to be filled, not with more furniture or decor, but with laughter, curious questions, and even the occasional mess. With a smile, he realized that for the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about market strategies or growth charts. He was thinking of simpler yet far more important things: what to serve for breakfast, how to make Amy laugh more, which toys Lila might enjoy. Climbing the stairs again, Liam paused in front of the girls' bedroom door, listening to the quiet inside, the gentle sound of their breathing. He pushed the door open just enough to see the two small figures sleeping soundly in their beds. A profound sense of completeness washed over him. The house wasn't about to be filled with life, it already overflowed with it. 3 weeks had passed since Amy and Lila had come to Liam's house. Life had found a comfortable rhythm, a routine that offered the girls security and brought Liam an unexpected joy. Mornings began with breakfast prepared by Mrs. Mills, followed by activities Liam planned carefully: visits to the park, reading books, drawing sessions Lila loved. Afternoons included snacks, more playtime, and occasionally checkups from the pediatrician or nutritionist monitoring the girl's progress. Lila was thriving. The antibiotics had cleared her respiratory infection, and balanced meals had given her rosy cheeks. She gained weight and energy daily, transforming into the happy, talkative child she was always meant to be. Amy, though more reserved by nature, also showed significant improvements. She ate well, slept without nightmares, and gradually lowered her guard. Her smiles, once rare, became more frequent. And to Liam's delight, she began to show interests and abilities, an especially keen curiosity about books, and a surprising knack for solving complex puzzles. On this Saturday morning, sunlight poured into the living room, where Amy was assembling a 200-piece jigsaw puzzle, a considerable challenge for a 5-year-old. Lila played on the rug with a collection of stuffed animals, creating elaborate stories in which each character had a distinct personality. Liam sat on the couch, pretending to read a report but really just watching the domestic scene. Anyone who knew him before would hardly believe the transformation. The man who once lived solely for work, dined alone at exclusive restaurants, and spent endless nights at the office now savored moments of simple, everyday happiness. The doorbell broke the calm moment. "That must be Mrs. Parker," Liam said, getting up. The social worker had scheduled another of her regular visits. Amy looked up from the puzzle, a flicker of worry in her eyes. Though previous visits had gone smoothly, she still tensed every time the social worker appeared. "It'll be fine," Liam assured her, gently touching her shoulder as he passed by. "She just wants to see how you're doing." The visit followed the usual pattern. Mrs. Parker spoke to the girls, inspected the house, checked Lila's medications, and asked questions about their routine. Then she asked to speak with Liam privately. "The girls look visibly well," she observed in the kitchen, away from the children's ears, especially Lila. "The change is remarkable." "The nutritionist is pleased with her progress," Liam agreed, "and the pediatrician says she's almost at her ideal weight for her age." "What about Amy? I noticed she seemed more relaxed with me today." Liam smiled. "She's opening up bit by bit. She still has moments where she withdraws, especially when something reminds her of the past. But I see real progress." Mrs. Parker nodded, taking more notes. "And about school? Amy is old enough for at least kindergarten." "I'm working on it," Liam replied. "I've spoken to a child psychologist who suggested giving her a few more weeks to adapt before introducing school. In the meantime, I hired a private tutor who comes 3 times a week." "That's good," the social worker approved. "And long-term." "I visited a few schools last week. There's an excellent one a few blocks from here, with a program geared toward children who've experienced trauma. I think it would be perfect for Amy when she's ready." The conversation continued for a few more minutes, turning to the upcoming custody hearing. When Mrs. Parker finally left, Liam returned to the living room to find only Lila there, still playing with her plush animals. "Where's Amy?" he asked. Lila shrugged without looking up. "She went upstairs." Liam went up to the girls' room and found Amy sitting quietly on her bed, flipping through a book, but she clearly wasn't really reading. Her eyes weren't moving across the page. "Is everything okay?" he asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Yes," she replied tersely, without looking up. Liam studied her face for a moment. Something was off Maros, but he couldn't tell what. "Mrs. Parker's gone now. She was really happy to see how well you two are doing." Amy just nodded, still avoiding his gaze. "Want to finish that puzzle? You were almost done," Liam suggested. "Later," she said, turning another page in the book she wasn't reading. Liam hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Over the last few weeks, he'd learned that sometimes Amy needed space. Pushing her to talk when she wasn't ready often made her withdraw further. "All right," he finally said. "I'll be downstairs if you need me." As he went downstairs, Liam felt uneasy. Progress with Amy had always been 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But something about this particular retreat felt different. The rest of the day passed with Amy unusually quiet. She joined them for lunch, answered questions only when asked directly, but that emerging sparkle in her eyes was gone. In the afternoon, when Liam suggested going to the park, a typical highlight of their day, she declined, saying she'd rather stay home. Lila, on the other hand, was as cheerful as ever, seemingly unaware of her sister's change in mood. The little one had grown especially attached to Liam, shadowing him around the house, always wanting to join whatever he was doing. That evening, during dinner, Mrs. Mills noticed Amy's demeanor. "Not hungry, dear?" she asked gently, seeing the girl's nearly untouched plate. "I ate a big snack," Amy lied, though everyone knew she'd barely touched her sandwich earlier. After dinner, when it was bath time, Amy again said she preferred to bathe alone. Liam respected her choice, though her abrupt shift worried him. Bedtime stories, usually a joyous time, were also odd. Amy stayed distant, refusing to make her usual insightful remarks. While Lila asked excited questions, Amy listened silently, eyes unfocused. When Liam finally turned out the lights and said goodnight, Lila answered in her usual bright tone, but Amy only murmured a barely audible, "Good night." Concerned, Liam went downstairs and found Mrs. Mills finishing up in the kitchen. "Have you noticed anything different about Amy today?" he asked as he helped put away the last few dishes. The housekeeper nodded, her face reflecting the same worry. "Yes, she's withdrawn. Did something happen during the social worker's visit?" "Not that I saw," Liam replied thoughtfully. "Mrs. Parker was quite positive today. Actually, it was the least eventful visit so far." "Maybe she's just having a bad day," Mrs. Mills suggested gently. "All children have ups and downs." "Maybe," Liam conceded, though he wasn't convinced. "There's something else. I have the custody hearing coming up, and I'll need to be away more next week for lawyer meetings." Mrs. Mills gave him a sympathetic look. "It's a crucial time." "Yes, but it means I can't be around as much," Liam continued. "I've been thinking of hiring extra help, someone who can stay with the girls when you and I are both busy." "That sounds sensible," the housekeeper agreed. "In fact, I have a niece who works as a nanny. She's experienced with kids of all ages and is first aid certified." "Perfect," Liam said, feeling some relief. "Could you ask her to come by on Monday for an interview? I want to handle this before the week gets too hectic." "Of course," Mrs. Mills replied. "I'll call her tomorrow." Neither of them noticed the small figure standing on the stairs, partially hidden in the shadows. Amy, who had come down for a glass of water, froze at the sound of her name, listening to the entire conversation. Quietly, she crept back upstairs, her heart heavy with what she'd heard. In her 5-year-old mind, the words twisted into something far different from their true meaning. All she understood was that Liam needed more help to deal with them, that he'd be away, that he was busy. Lying in her bed, gazing up at the glow-in-the-dark stickers on the ceiling, Amy felt a familiar fear creeping back, a cold wave that threatened to overwhelm her. This was how it started, wasn't it? First, the adults got busy, then they needed help with the kids, and eventually they left. Her father had done the same. First, he came home late, then her parents fought about him never being around, and finally, one morning, he simply wasn't there anymore. Her mother had said he needed to find his way, whatever that meant. And now Liam, whom she had started to trust, who she almost believed could be permanent in her life, he was also pulling away. A tear slid silently down Amy's face. Next to her, Lila slept soundly, unaware of her sister's emotional storm. The little one had grown so attached to Liam, calling for him when she woke up, following him everywhere. How would she handle it if he got tired of them too? The thought was unbearable. Amy couldn't let Lila go through that pain. Better to leave now, on their own, rather than wait to be cast aside. With that grim decision, Amy rolled onto her side and finally allowed herself to sleep, though her slumber was light and restless, haunted by dreams of closing doors and receding voices. The next morning, Amy remained distant. She ate little at breakfast, gave one-word answers, and when Liam suggested a trip to the zoo, something she'd previously said she wanted, she only shrugged. "Are you feeling okay?" Liam asked, genuinely concerned. "Should I call the doctor?" "No need," she replied, stirring her cereal without eating it. "I'm not sick." All day, Amy watched Liam and Lila interact. The younger girl was especially affectionate, asking to be carried, wanting stories read to her, showing Liam her drawings. He responded with patience and genuine care. which somehow made it harder for Amy to watch, convinced as she was that it wouldn't last. In the afternoon, while Mrs. Mills took Lila for a nap, Liam tried again to talk to Amy. "Do you want to tell me what's going on?" he asked directly, sitting beside her on the couch. "You've been different since yesterday." Amy kept her eyes on the book in her lap. "Nothing's going on." "Amy," Liam's voice was gentle. "If there's something bothering you, anything, you can tell me. We're in this together, remember?" For a moment, Amy almost gave in. She almost asked, "Are you sending us away? Are you tired of us?" But fear won out. What if he confirmed it? "I'm fine," she insisted, closing the book and standing up. "I just want to be alone." Liam watched her head upstairs, his heart heavy. Something was deeply wrong, but he couldn't decipher what. He thought about calling the child psychologist, but decided to give Amy one more day to open up. The afternoon dragged on. Lila, full of energy after her nap, wanted to play in the backyard. Liam took her out, keeping an eye on the upstairs window, hoping Amy would join them. She didn't. Dinner was a repeat of lunch. Amy barely touched her food, speaking even less. Lila, meanwhile, was as chatty as ever, telling a complicated story about a bird she'd seen outside. Normally, Amy would correct her sister's imaginative details, or at least smile. Tonight, she just listened in silence. When bath time came, Liam asked gently, "Do you want help tonight, or would you rather be alone again?" "Alone," Amy said without hesitation. Overriding his usual desire to respect her space, Liam decided it was time to insist. "Amy, I need you to tell me what's going on. You're worrying me." For a brief second, her eyes met his. Liam saw something that alarmed him, a deep, resolute fear. "Nothing," she finally replied, looking away. "I'm just tired." Without further protest, Liam let her go upstairs to bathe, though his sense of unease only grew. During story time, he chose a book he knew was Amy's favorite, hoping to see any spark of excitement. She listened attentively, but without her usual enthusiasm. When he turned out the lights and wished them good night, Liam lingered in the doorway. "Amy," he said softly, "whatever is bothering you, remember we're in this together. You, me, and Lila. A family." In the dark, he couldn't see Amy's expression, or the tears silently sliding down her cheeks as she heard the word family. Uncertain whether to stay or honor her space, Liam finally closed the door and went downstairs. In the kitchen, Mrs. Mills was waiting with a cup of tea. "Still nothing?" she asked, worry evident on her face. Liam shook his head. "She's completely shut down. I haven't seen her like this since she arrived." "Children with her history often have relapses," Mrs. Mills said kindly. "Especially once they start feeling safe." "What do you mean?" "When they finally lower their guard, the fear of losing their newfound security can be overwhelming," she explained. "It's like they're waiting for everything to fall apart again." Her words resonated with Liam. That was exactly how Amy seemed, like someone awaiting imminent disaster. "What can I do?" he asked, feeling helpless. "Keep showing her you're here, that you're not going anywhere," Mrs. Mills advised. "Sometimes that's all we can do. Be there, consistently, until she believes it's real." After the housekeeper left, Liam tried working in his office but couldn't focus. He kept seeing Amy's withdrawn expression. Finally, he decided to check on her before bed. Quietly going upstairs, he opened the door to the girls' room just a crack. Moonlight streamed in through the window, illuminating two small beds. Liam frowned, pushing the door wider. Amy's bed was neatly made, no sign of the little girl. His heart pounded as he turned on the light. "Amy," he called, quickly checking the adjoining bathroom. Empty. A cold panic seized him. He rushed through every room on the second floor, calling her name softly so as not to wake Lila. No sign of Amy. Racing downstairs, he checked the living room, kitchen, his office. The entire house was still and empty. Then, back in the hall, he saw it. The small backpack he'd bought for Amy was missing, and next to the back door, the girl's sneakers were gone. Terror flooded him. Dashing up to the bedroom again, he confirmed his worst fear. Lila's bed was also empty, the child-sized comforter tossed aside. Only the teddy bear remained, a silent witness. That was when he spotted the folded note on Amy's pillow. With trembling hands, he opened it and recognized Amy's shaky handwriting. "Sorry for the trouble. We're leaving so we don't get in your way. Thanks for the food." Amy and Lila. Liam's world crashed in that moment. The girls were gone, out in the city night, alone. Worse, Amy believed they were a burden. Wasting no time, he grabbed his phone and called Thomas. The driver, sounding groggy, instantly woke up when Liam explained the situation. "I'll be there in 5 minutes, sir," he promised. As he waited, Liam called the police, explaining everything with a calmness he didn't feel. He gave detailed descriptions of both girls, what they'd been wearing at bedtime, and possible places they might have gone. "Is there anywhere specific they might hide?" asked the officer. Liam thought fast. "The restaurant where we met. Maybe the park nearby where we often go, and—" He hesitated, horror dawning on him. They used to sleep on the streets. "Behind a grocery store." The officer took notes, promising to send patrols to check those areas. "Keep your phone on, sir. We'll contact you as soon as we know something." Thomas arrived minutes later, and they began their own search. The city at night felt menacing now, every shadow a potential threat to two small, vulnerable children. "We'll find them, sir," Thomas assured Liam as he drove slowly through the streets, both of them scanning each alley and corner. Liam only nodded, his throat too tight to speak. Guilt consumed him. How had he failed to see how deeply Amy was hurting? Then it hit him. Amy's change had started right after Mrs. Parker's visit, the same day. That conversation with Mrs. Mills, he murmured, the painful realization settling in. She overheard us talking about hiring help. "Sir?" Thomas glanced at him briefly, confused. "She must have heard me say I was hiring a nanny because I'd be busy," Liam explained, voice trembling. "She must have thought we were sick of them, that we wanted to get rid of the work." Thomas nodded, comprehension dawning. Children interpret things differently, especially those who've already been abandoned. The words hit Liam like a physical blow. Exactly. For Amy, who had lost both parents, one to abandonment, the other to illness, any hint of not being wanted was magnified 1,000 times. They kept searching for more than an hour, checking the closed restaurant, the deserted park, and multiple alleys and side streets. Nothing. Liam's phone remained silent, still no word from the police. Eventually, they drove down a narrow alley between two commercial buildings. Thomas suddenly slowed. "Sir," he whispered, pointing. "Over there." Liam followed his gaze, his heart nearly stopping. Under the dim glow of a distant street lamp, two small figures were huddled against the wall. Amy, clearly on alert despite her exhaustion, had Lila practically in her lap, protecting her with her arms. Before the car fully halted, Liam opened the door and ran toward them. At the sound of footsteps, Amy's head shot up, her eyes wide with fear. She recognized Liam immediately. "Thank God," he breathed, dropping to his knees beside them, unable to hold back tears. "Thank God you're both safe." Lila, half asleep, opened her eyes, confused. "Liam," she said in a small, shaky voice. "I'm here, Princess," he replied, holding out his arms. To his surprise, it was Amy who moved first, practically pushing Lila into his embrace. "She's cold," Amy explained hurriedly, her own voice trembling. "And tired. We walked so far." Liam held Lila close, who promptly nestled against his chest, and extended his other arm to Amy. "Let's go home. It's freezing out here." But Amy didn't move. Her eyes, huge in her pale, tired face, were full of confusion and fear. "You don't want us to leave?" she asked, voice almost inaudible. Her question broke Liam's heart. "Never," he replied firmly. "I never wanted that." "But you said you'd hire someone to take care of us because you're busy," Amy insisted, words tumbling out in a rush. "That's what my dad did. He got busy, and then he left." Liam finally understood the depth of her fear. Carefully, so as not to disturb Lila, who was dozing again, he inched closer to Amy. "Amy, look at me," he urged gently. When she finally met his gaze, he continued, "I wanted to hire someone to help because I'll be busy fighting for the right to keep you both forever. Not because I don't want you, it's the opposite. I want you very much. I want you to be my family, officially." The girl's eyes widened at the revelation. "Really?" "Absolutely," Liam assured her. "I would never, ever abandon you. No matter how busy I get, no matter what challenges we face, we're in this together. Always." One tear slid down Amy's dirty cheek, soon followed by more. With a stifled sob, she finally threw her arms around Liam, pressing her face into his shoulder and crying freely for the first time since he'd met her. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I thought we were bothering you, that you didn't want us anymore." "You're never a bother," Liam said, holding her tight with one arm while keeping Lila secure with the other. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Thomas approached quietly, picking up the backpack Amy had dropped. With a nod to Liam, he headed back to the car, giving them a moment of privacy. "Promise you won't leave?" Amy asked, her voice muffled against Liam's shoulder. "I promise," Liam answered with all his heart. "I will never leave you." "Not now, not ever." Carefully, Liam stood up, still holding both girls. Amy clung to him as though she feared he would vanish if she let go. "Let's go home," he said softly, walking to the car where Thomas waited. "It's too cold out here." All the way back, Amy never let go of Liam's hand, as though she needed that physical connection to believe he was truly there and truly wanted them. Lila slept soundly, exhausted from the ordeal. Once home, Liam quickly called the police to let them know the girls had been found safe. Then he helped Amy take a warm bath while Lila continued sleeping, already tucked into her bed. "You must be hungry," he observed, noticing Amy still shivering slightly even after her bath and dressed in warm pajamas. She nodded timidly. In the kitchen, Liam made hot chocolate and simple sandwiches, relieved to see Amy eat with real appetite. Color returned to her face, and the trembling subsided. "Liam," she said when she finished her impromptu meal. "Yes?" "I left my note on your bed," she said, looking genuinely worried about that detail. "I should have written where we were going." Liam couldn't help a weary smile. "Next time you want to go somewhere, just let me know, okay? No more late-night escapes." "There won't be a next time," Amy promised, her eyes serious. "I don't want to leave anymore." "Good," Liam replied, a deep sense of relief washing over him. "Because I don't want you to leave." As they headed back upstairs, Liam holding Amy's hand firmly, she asked in a small voice, "Can I sleep with Lila tonight? Just to make sure she's okay." "Of course," Liam said. "Actually, I think we all need to stick close tonight." In the bedroom, Lila was still sleeping soundly, blissfully unaware of the drama that had just unfolded. Amy climbed under the covers beside her sister, eyes heavy with fatigue. "I'll stay here until you both fall asleep," Liam promised, pulling the armchair closer to their beds. Amy fought off sleep for a few more minutes, as if afraid everything would change if she closed her eyes. But eventually, exhaustion won. Liam remained there, watching the two girls sleep, overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions, fear over what might have happened, relief that they were safe, and a fierce determination never again to let Amy doubt her place in his life. Certain they were both in a deep sleep, he leaned over and gently kissed each forehead. "I promise," he whispered, knowing they couldn't hear, "never again to let you feel abandoned." Instead of going to his own room, Liam settled into the armchair. He couldn't bring himself to leave them that night. He needed to be there when they woke, a physical proof that his promises were real. As the house fell silent and the night wore on, Liam reflected on how, in just a few weeks, two little girls had become the center of his world. The fear of losing them had been more devastating than any business crisis he'd ever faced. In the quiet of that bedroom, lit only by a small lamp illuminating the sleeping faces of Amy and Lila, he finally understood the true meaning of family. It wasn't about legal papers or custody hearings, though he would fight for those too. It was about being present even in the hardest moments. It was about learning the silent language of Amy's fear and teaching her that not all adults disappear. It was about walking that uncertain path between fear and affection together, a path the three of them were learning to navigate side by side. And for the first time since he had met the girls in that restaurant, Liam felt absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. After the incident with their midnight escape, a new chapter began in Liam's home. The scare served as a turning point for all three, especially Liam, who now fully understood Amy's deep-seated insecurities and the necessity of building a structure that conveyed permanence and safety. The morning after the girls' return, Liam cancelled every meeting he had scheduled for the week. Some decisions couldn't be postponed. The first was an honest conversation with Amy over breakfast, while Lila still slept, recovering from the previous night's adventure. "There's something very important I want you to understand," he said, sitting across from Amy, who still looked tired but relieved to be back home. "This is your house now, yours and Lila's. It's not temporary or conditional." Amy's wary eyes searched his face for any sign of uncertainty. "I know words aren't enough," he continued, "so I'm going to show you with actions, starting today." And that was exactly what he did. Later that morning, Liam contacted his lawyer to formally begin the adoption process. Not just temporary guardianship, which he had originally aimed for, but a full and permanent adoption. The process would be long and complicated, requiring psychological evaluations, home visits, and court hearings, but his decision was made. "I want to do this the right way," he explained to Mrs. Parker, who had come for an urgent visit after hearing about the escape. "I want the girls to have both legal and emotional certainty of their place in my life." The social worker, initially concerned about the incident, was surprised by Liam's response. Rather than retreating in the face of a challenge, he had doubled down on his commitment. "Mr. Carter, this shows remarkable resolve," she commented, taking notes. "But I must ask, are you truly prepared for the complexities of raising two children with significant trauma?" Liam glanced out the kitchen window, where he could see Amy and Lila in the backyard, playing ring toss Thomas had brought over that morning. "I don't think anyone's ever fully prepared to be a parent," he answered honestly. "But I'm willing to learn, adapt, and do whatever it takes. They're my priority now." In the days that followed, the house began to transform. Liam hired an architect to convert the room adjacent to the girls into a large playroom, complete with low shelves, areas for arts and crafts, and a space where Amy could have lessons with a private tutor Liam had brought in. "Why can't I go to school yet?" Amy asked during one of these sessions, curious but not upset. The tutor, Mrs. Bennett, a compassionate woman in her 50s, specialized in children who'd faced trauma, smiled kindly. "We need to establish a solid foundation first," she explained, "and also learn more about how you learn, what you know already, what you enjoy, so that when you do go to school, you'll be prepared and confident." Amy didn't realize that she'd been the topic of a lengthy discussion between Liam and Mrs. Bennett. The tutor had strongly recommended waiting until the adoption process advanced, so Amy would have the psychological security of a permanent home before facing the school environment. Meanwhile, the house continued its metamorphosis. Liam's downstairs office was redesigned to include a small desk for Amy, who showed growing interest in his work. "It's for when you want to keep me company," he explained, showing her the space. The smile she gave in return was worth every penny spent on renovations. In the backyard, a small playground was installed, a swing set, a slide, and a covered sandbox. Liam's former meditation area made way for a tiny garden plot where Lila, fascinated by all things that grew, could plant vegetables and flowers under Mrs. Mills's supervision. Inside, new details appeared: framed pictures of the girls' drawings, photos of the three of them at the park, the zoo, the library. A family album began to take shape, documenting the present and building a bridge to the future. Their routine also solidified. Mornings started with shared breakfast, followed by lessons for Amy with Mrs. Bennett, while Lila spent time with an occupational therapist working on fine motor skills weakened by her earlier malnutrition. Afternoons were for family activities whenever Liam was available, or with Mrs. Mills's niece, the nanny, whom Amy had accepted after a careful introduction and a clear explanation of her role. Dinners were sacred, as was the bedtime story ritual, now inviolable. On the bedroom wall, a large colorful calendar marked important dates, medical appointments, social worker visits, and, highlighted with gold stars, the upcoming court dates for the adoption process. It served as a visual reminder for Amy that everything was moving forward. that there was a concrete plan for her future. "When we reach this day," Liam explained, pointing to a date circled a few months away, "we'll have our first major hearing. If all goes well, not long after that, we'll start looking for the perfect school for you." Mentioning school, which once caused anxiety, now sparked a cautious mix of curiosity and excitement in Amy. The idea of new friends and learning new things seemed less daunting within the supportive structure Liam had created. One evening, while arranging books on the new shelf in their room, Amy asked hesitantly, "If the judge says yes, what should I call you?" The question caught Liam by surprise. "Whatever you want to call me," he said gently. "Liam is fine with me." Amy pondered that, placing a book on the shelf. "What if someday I want to call you Dad? When I'm ready?" A warm sensation spread through Liam's chest. "That would be the greatest honor of my life," he answered, his voice thick with emotion. Amy nodded solemnly, turning back to the books, yet the small smile on her lips said it all. The stability they were building day by day wasn't just physical, renovating the house, or even legal. Working through the adoption, it was emotional. Every honest conversation, every obstacle faced together, every promise kept was another brick in Amy and Lila's trust. And for Liam, each day brought him a deeper understanding of what it meant not just to be a provider or protector, but truly a father, present, consistent, and willing to grow alongside his daughters. The new structure they were building together was more than an adapted house or an ongoing legal process. It was the solid foundation of a family that had, against all odds, found its way home. The courtroom was quieter than Liam expected. There was no TV drama, just a formal space of polished wood and natural light filtering through high windows. Sitting beside him, Amy swung her legs, which didn't reach the floor, wearing the blue dress she'd chosen for the occasion. Lila sat on Mrs. Mills's lap in the front row, staring around with curious, wide eyes. It had been 6 months of waiting, 6 months of home visits, psychological evaluations, interviews, and endless paperwork. 6 months of Amy asking when, every time they passed the highlighted date on the calendar in her room. 6 months of slowly building a life on still uncertain ground. And now they were finally here. "Mr. Carter," the judge's voice resonated in the room, pulling Liam from his thoughts. "I've carefully reviewed the case and the submitted reports." Liam instinctively held Amy's hand, both to reassure her and to find reassurance himself. Her small fingers were surprisingly strong. "The social worker's reports are exemplary," the judge continued, a woman in her middle years with a composed expression. "The psychological evaluations of the children show remarkable progress in their emotional well-being, and the bond that has formed between you and the girls is clearly significant." Liam scarcely breathed. Beside him, Amy seemed to have frozen, sensing the tension of the moment even if she didn't fully grasp the legal language. "Therefore," the judge smiled softly, "it is with great satisfaction that I approve this adoption petition. From today onward, Amy and Lila are officially your daughters, Mr. Carter, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." Relief hit Liam like a wave. 6 months of uncertainty vanished in an instant, replaced by a joy he could barely contain. He turned to Amy, who looked at him in confusion. "What happened?" she whispered. Liam knelt to her eye level. "The judge said yes," he explained, his voice thick with emotion. "You and Lila are officially my daughters. We're a family, forever." Amy's eyes widened as she slowly understood. "Forever," she repeated, as if testing the sound of the word. "Forever," Liam confirmed. "Nothing can change that now." A slow smile spread across Amy's face, lighting up her eyes. "We did it," she said, not as a question, but as a wondrous statement. "Yes, sweetheart, we did." After that, the courtroom became a whirlwind of activity. There were documents to sign, congratulations from Mrs. Parker, who seemed genuinely pleased, and even some discreet applause from court employees touched by the scene. While Liam signed the final paperwork, Amy ran to Lila, who had slipped off Mrs. Mills's lap and was wandering the hallway. "Lila," she said, crouching by her sister, "we're officially a family. He's our dad now." Lila, 4 years old and absorbing the world with her typical simplicity, said he was already our dad. A logic that made Amy laugh. In a way, Lila was right. The papers only confirmed what their hearts already knew. Leaving the courtroom felt like a celebration. Thomas waited at the entrance with the car adorned with small blue ribbons, a surprise he'd arranged himself. On the back seat were teddy bears for each girl, each holding a heart-shaped balloon. "For my princesses," the driver announced with an exaggerated bow, making the girls giggle. The drive home was filled with animated plans. Liam had prepared a small gathering with only the people who had become important in their lives: Mrs. Mills, Thomas, Mrs. Bennett, the lawyer who had led the case with exceptional dedication, and Dr. Bennett, who continued to oversee Lila's health. "And after the party," Liam said, "we have another important matter to take care of." "What's that?" Amy asked, curious. "Your school enrollment," he replied, watching her reaction closely. Amy's eyes sparkled with both excitement and apprehension. Over the past few months, the idea of going to an actual school had shifted from terrifying to intriguing. Her sessions with Mrs. Bennett had ignited a genuine interest in learning, and the tutor assured Liam that despite the educational gaps, Amy's lively intelligence and curiosity would help her adapt. "Will I learn to read?" she asked, her biggest academic ambition so far. "Yes, and a lot more," Liam promised. "Mrs. Bennett says you already know nearly all your letters. Soon you'll be reading stories all on your own." The small party at home was simple but perfect. A cake with our official family written in colorful icing, modest yet meaningful gifts, and an atmosphere of genuine happiness. Lila, basking in the attention, proudly showed everyone her drawings from the past week. Amy, just as happy, had moments of quiet reflection. During one such moment, Liam found her sitting on the back porch step, watching the garden where little buds were beginning to bloom. "Everything okay?" he asked, sitting beside her. She nodded, thoughtful. "I was just thinking about my mom," she said honestly. "I think she'd be happy today." Liam felt a twinge in his chest. "I'm sure she would. She always said she wanted us to have a safe place," Amy went on. "Even when she was really sick, she worried about that." Gently, Liam put an arm around her shoulders. "Your mum was very brave and loved you both dearly. I think she'd be proud of how strong you've become." Amy nodded, leaning slightly against him. "You know," Liam continued, "even though I'm legally your dad now, I never want to replace your memories of her. She'll always be part of who you are." "I know," Amy replied with a wisdom beyond her years. "It's like Mrs. Bennett said, my heart has room to remember her and to love you too." Her simple words struck Liam with unexpected force. It was the first time Amy had spoken of love so directly. "And tomorrow," she went on, brightening, "we're going to see my new school." "That's right," Liam confirmed, thankful for children's ability to shift from deep emotion to simple joys. "Your first day is just a visit, to meet the teacher and see your classroom. Classes start next week." "I'm nervous," Amy admitted. "What if I don't know the same things as the other kids?" "You'll learn," Liam said gently. "And remember what Mrs. Bennett always tells you. That I shouldn't hurry," Amy recited. "That I can learn at my own pace." "Exactly." The next morning, Amy woke before dawn, too excited to sleep. Liam found her already dressed, hair brushed, sitting on the edge of her bed with her new backpack, a gift from Mrs. Mills, carefully packed. "Someone's eager," he teased with a smile. "I've never been to a real school," she said, a mix of nerves and anticipation in her voice. Breakfast was rushed, with Amy barely touching her food. Even Lila seemed caught up in her sister's excitement, though she was still too young for school herself. When they arrived at the red brick building with a small playground out front, Amy gripped Liam's hand tightly. Colorful letters adorned the entrance. "Sunshine Elementary School, where we grow together." The principal, a woman with a kind smile, met them at the door. "You must be Amy," she said, lowering herself to greet her properly. "We're so happy you'll be joining us." Suddenly shy, Amy managed a quiet greeting. The school visit was carefully designed to make her feel welcomed and safe. She met her future teacher, Mrs. Holt, who showed Amy where her desk would be and talked about the books they'd read. They saw the library, full of low shelves and bright picture books perfect for early readers. The tour ended at the playground, where some children were playing during recess. "What did you think?" Liam asked as they returned to the car. Amy pondered seriously. "I think I'll like it," she finally said. "The library has a lot of books." Liam grinned. Amy's love of stories had grown steadily over the last few months, even though she still couldn't read independently. She devoured every book Liam and Mrs. Bennet read to her, often asking for the same story so many times she memorized entire passages. That night, after Lila had fallen asleep, Amy asked to see the adoption papers again. Though she still couldn't read the words, she was fascinated by the idea that these documents made it official. She and Lila were Liam's daughters. "Someday I'll read all this by myself," she declared, running her fingers over the printed text. "I'm sure you will," Liam replied, "and sooner than you think." Before turning out the light, Amy posed a question that seemed to have been on her mind. "Now that we have the papers, can I call you Dad?" she asked in a small voice, darkness creeping into the room. Liam felt a lump in his throat. "I'd love that," he answered sincerely. "Good night, Dad." Amy tested the word, sounding new on her lips but somehow perfectly right. "Good night, my daughter," Liam replied, the word just as new for him, but filled with a love he never knew he could feel. As he gently closed the door, Liam realized they'd each gained a name of their own. He, the title of Dad, which he would carry with pride and responsibility for the rest of his life, and Amy, the surname Carter, which was not just a legal detail, but a symbol of belongings of a home finally found. It was a special Friday. Amy had completed her first month at school, and Liam wanted to celebrate. While helping Lila pick out a dress for the evening, he kept a secret, a surprise destination he'd planned carefully. "Can we wear something nice?" asked Amy, entering her sister's room. In the past few weeks, her confidence had visibly grown. She was already writing some of her letters, and her teacher had sent a note praising her enthusiasm. "Definitely," Liam replied. "We're going somewhere special." Amy's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Where?" "It's a surprise," he said with a smile, "but I think you'll recognize it when we get there." While the girls got ready, Liam made an important phone call. "Everything set for tonight?" he asked. "Yes, 7 o'clock, thank you." Thomas was waiting out front with the car, as impeccable as ever. He had truly become part of the family, not just a driver, but a trusted friend. Lila adored him, often begging to ride in the front seat, a privilege he pretended to consider solemnly, before gently refusing, explaining safety rules. "Where are we going, Thomas?" Amy tried, hoping he'd slip up. "Sorry, Miss Amy," he replied with a grin. "Strict orders." The city glowed with early evening lights as they navigated the traffic. Lila pointed out window displays, commenting on the colors and toys she saw. Amy, more observant, noticed their route and began to guess the destination. When the car finally turned onto a familiar street, her suspicions were confirmed. "It's the restaurant," she said softly. "Where we met." Liam nodded, gauging her reaction. "I thought it would be a nice place to celebrate your first month in school and our anniversary." "Anniversary?" Lila echoed, intrigued. "Yes, sweetheart," Liam explained. "It's been exactly 1 year since we first met at this restaurant." Amy fell silent, processing that fact. 1 year, it felt so much longer, and yet, as if it had just happened yesterday. The memories of that night were still vivid. The fear, the hunger, the desperate courage that drove her inside, and the kind man who changed their lives. Le Jardin looked the same as Amy remembered. The large glass windows, the golden lights, the flower arrangements on each table. Only this time, she wasn't soaked by rain, starving or terrified. She wore a lavender dress Liam had bought for the occasion, and her now longer hair was pulled back with a silver clip. Thomas opened the car door, and Liam helped Lila out. Amy followed on her own, eyes fixed on the restaurant entrance. She paused for a moment. "Everything okay?" Liam asked, noticing her hesitation. Amy nodded slowly. "I'm just remembering how I felt that day," she explained. "My heart was pounding so hard it hurt." Liam crouched to meet her gaze. "You were the bravest girl I'd ever seen. walking in there alone to help your sister. I was really scared, she admitted. True courage isn't not being scared, Liam said. It's doing what needs to be done even when you are afraid. Amy thought about that for a moment, then took Lila's hand. With her other hand, she reached for Liam's. Together, as a family, they walked up to the entrance. The maitre d' greeted them with a formal smile, which shifted to startled recognition when his eyes landed on Amy. "Oh my goodness," he said quietly. "It's you." Amy gave a shy smile and stayed close to Liam. "Reservation for Carter," Liam said. "Of course, Khan, sir. We've been expecting you," replied the maitre d', regaining his professional composure but still looking at Amy in amazement. "Please, follow me." He led them through the dining room, now full of elegantly dressed patrons. Some glanced over curiously, not with the scorn Amy had faced a year ago, Aves, but with friendly smiles and nods. She realized Liam must be well known there. To her surprise, they were taken to the very same table, the last one in the dining area where Liam had been sitting that fateful night. The flower arrangement in the center was more elaborate than the others, featuring white lilies and small purple blooms matching Amy's dress. "Antoine will serve you," the maitre d' said, pulling out the girls' chairs. "Enjoy your evening." Almost immediately, a middle-aged waiter with a thin mustache approached, carrying a tray with 3 glasses, 2 with juice for the girls and 1 of wine for Liam. "Good evening," he greeted, setting the drinks on the table. Then he looked at Amy and smiled warmly, his eyes full of genuine emotion. "It's a great pleasure to see you again, miss." Amy studied him for a moment, and the memory clicked. "You're the waiter from that day," she said, recognizing him despite his changed demeanor. "Antoine," he confirmed with a small bow. "And I must say you look much healthier and happier tonight." Liam explained to the girls that he had called the restaurant in advance about the special occasion. Antoine, who had been working there for years, had specifically asked to serve their table. "I confess," the waiter said, placing linen napkins on the girls' laps. "I think of that night often. To see you both now so well is a gift to all of us." As the evening went on, Amy realized it wasn't just Antoine who remembered them. Other staff made excuses to pass by the table. The chef came out personally to say hello. A young waitress brought special desserts courtesy of the House E, and even the pianist, playing softly in the corner, inclined his head in recognition. "They all remember us," Amy noted while enjoying a chocolate ice cream topped with fresh strawberries. "It was an unforgettable night for many people," Liam replied. "Your courage touched a lot of hearts." Lila, absorbed in her own dessert, declared happily, "This is the best day ever." Her simple joy made both Amy and Liam smile. During dessert, Liam handed each girl a small box wrapped in silver paper. "An anniversary gift," he said, "to mark our first year as a family." Lila tore hers open first, revealing a delicate silver bracelet with a small heart pendant engraved with her name. Amy, more cautious, unwrapped an identical one. "Look inside the heart," Liam instructed. Carefully, Amy opened the tiny locket. Inside was a miniature photo. She, Lila, and Liam all smiling in their backyard. On the opposite side, the words "Family Forever" were engraved in delicate script. "It's so you'll always remember," Liam said, helping Lila fasten hers, "that no matter where you are, our family is always with you." Amy's eyes filled with tears as Liam clasped the bracelet on her wrist. She lifted it, watching how the silver caught the restaurant's soft lights. "Thank you," she said simply, the words inadequate for what she felt. As they were about to leave, Antoine returned, this time accompanied by the maitre d' and the chef. Other staff members gathered discreetly in the background. "Mr. Carter," the chef began, "thank you for sharing this special evening with us. Seeing these lovely girls now so happy and healthy brings us more joy than I can express." "It's an honor," the maitre d' added. "This restaurant has witnessed many important moments over the years, but few as meaningful as this." Amy, who once would have cowered under so much attention, now stood calmly beside Liam, a faint smile on her face. "Thank you for the food," she said, instinctively echoing her words from that first night, but this time with confidence rather than desperation. Antoine smiled through barely concealed tears. The pleasure was ours, Miss Amy. Stepping out into the cool night air, Lila yawned, tired but happy, while Amy seemed pensive. Thomas waited with the car, punctual as always. "How did you like the surprise?" Liam asked as he helped Lila into the car. Amy glanced back at the warmly lit restaurant. "It was perfect," she replied. "Like coming full circle." "Exactly," Liam agreed, understanding perfectly what she meant. During the drive home, Amy thought about how that place had changed so much in her heart over the course of a year, from a scene of fear and desperation to a symbol of hope and new beginnings. The restaurant where she had once entered alone and terrified was now just another spot where she belonged, where people recognized her for who she was, not what she needed. And that night, heading home with a bracelet shining under the city lights, Amy Carter finally understood that she had found not just a home or a family, but her place in the world. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.